Hello, y'all. Hopefully you all are doing well tonight. Hello, Luna. Hopefully you are doing well. Just going through and getting stuff set here for tonight, which we should be good. Okay. How are y'all doing tonight? Oh, here. Let me flip myself to the correct screen. Okay, there we go. Hello. Okay. So, yeah. Hello. All right, so tonight we are going to be talking about one of my favorite indie games, which is Mothership. As you can see, I have a fair amount of stuff with it, which we'll be taking a look at. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Pretty good, just chilling and playing some Avengers. Very nice, very nice. I'm doing well. I am happy to be streaming and talking about this cool game. Other than that, things are going pretty well. I've been trying to... I spent my free time today, when I had a little bit of downtime, looking through some information on indie TTRPG development. So I am trying to get my hat in the ring for that. So yeah, it's exciting. Hold on. No, I guess my hair is just gonna do whatever it wants to do. That's fine. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. As I showed you just a second ago, this is Mothership. Quite a thin game as far as rules, page number goes. That's only about 38 pages. But it's all rules, so. Any luck? Yeah, you know. It's, the fortunate thing about it is, since there are so many creators here in Portland, there's a lot of opportunities for me to get active in the local community and things like that. So I have been looking... Excuse me. I've been looking into some indie development locally. There are a lot of developers locally who do stuff with video games, which I don't, but it's cool. There are some tabletop developers locally. I know that we've seen them in the stores and things like that when we've gone. A lot of the stores around here promote the local game makers, so it's nice to see that in the tabletop sector. But it's okay. It's honestly, I'm being in that space has just made me want to do more with actually making the games. So I need to sit down and actually do some testing, which I'm thinking I might try to find some people to do a few testing of the game a few times, and then if it works out, if there's no changes that I need to make, then going through, putting it through publisher, things like that, putting some art in it, which I've already talked to the person who's going to be doing that. And yeah, so if that's good and it's cool, I'm going to put it out on itch, which I will show you in a bit here. But if it works out well, I'll put it out on itch, as well as looking for other small and self-publishing avenues that I can use for my game. And then I'll just go through and promote it and see how it works out. And if people like it, cool. If people don't like it, that's fine too. It's something that I wanted to try, and you know, I think I would be okay at it. So we'll see. We'll see what people think about it. But yeah, we'll see. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, again, it's okay. I'm not gonna lose sleep if it doesn't work out, you know. It's a chance to try something and see how it pans out. You'll do great. Well, thank you. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Again, we'll see. It's something that, because I wanted to put myself out there more, that's why I switched to YouTube. That's why I started doing stuff with Start Playing. I wanted to make more of a name for myself in the things that I do, and the things that I enjoy doing, because writing, there's certain things that I like better than others, like, to be perfectly honest. Hi, Ethan. Hopefully you are doing well. Or hi. Yeah, either B or Ethan, I guess, whichever you prefer in here. What was I saying? Oh, yes. There's certain things about game design I like, and certain things about game design I don't really like all that much. Like, I'm not a huge fan of making game systems. I mean, for the game that I've made, I had to make my own, because it's kind of the basis of the whole game itself, which is fine, and that's all well and good, and maybe I'm okay at it, I have no idea, but we'll see. Government name, ew, ew, ew. So okay, I can use something else, that's fine. I do be hating Christian names being thrown out in the YouTube chat. I mean, you can change your display name to be whatever you want. Mine's not what it is. Like, mine's just the screen name that is used for this channel. But it's not the same thing that I signed up with, so you can make whatever you want. You don't have to have your full name as your display name. So yeah, let's get into it. Chilling with the dance music. All right, so we'll start off with Mothership, because that's initially what I said I was going to talk about. So Mothership is really cool in that it is a sci-fi horror game that is supposed to be kind of akin to things like Alien and stuff like that. I believe it was released around this, I think before, let's see, 2018. So yeah, before the Alien RPG was released, it does use a different system than the Alien RPG. It uses D100 instead of the D6 pool system, which is what the Year Zero engine is. So they use... here's a little example of a character sheet, which might be kind of hard to see. But they use D100s, which means that you have a target number and then you have to roll under it. So these games are made by Tuesday Night Games, which the wonderful... And I can show you their shop, too. Wonderful thing about Tuesday Night Games is it's a small publisher, because these are all, you know, small little paperback books. So they're all cheap, and you can, I think with Mothership might even be Name Your Price. The PDF copy is Name Your Price. The physical copy is $15. So, like, this is one of the things I love about indie RPGs, is the fact that you can pay not that much money and get a great game that makes it so you can make a lot of cool stories. And now it doesn't have anything in it as far as setting building or anything else like that goes. There's not anything really much in here in the way of understanding any sort of setting outside of just the basics. So that is definitely one drawback I think people could have if they if they don't really rely on themselves too much to make a setting. But that's why these exist, which are module books, modules, settings, missions, which there you go, Feast, which you can get settings books like this one here that gives you a whole scenario to play, and it gives you all the backstory you need. This is actually a second part to the Drain. So this one plays off of this one, which is quite cool too. And these are all small publication. They're all from independent creators, which is something that I really, really enjoy about this game. I like games that give you the ability to create in their space, which, I mean, Mothership was created with that in mind from the get-go. There's not a setting book for Mothership. It's all just whatever information you want to come up with, which makes it really cool, too. But the other cool thing about it is you can find these little guys, which are just like little information pamphlets. And depending on where you find these might be $5-10, something like that. I think they sell them on the stores here too. Let's see. Yeah, like $5. $5. Which these are like little one-shots, which is something I also really, really like, because the layout's beautiful for a lot of these. They come with a ton of information on ways for you to run a cool scenario for you and your friends. And it's something that whenever I go to a game store, I always look for the Mothership stuff, because it's an open license, there's always new stuff coming out, always cool new things for you to explore. And that is something that I very much enjoy being able to add to my repertoire. Like, I am confident that if I ever was going to, let's say like a convention or something like that, and I knew that there's a chance that I might be running some games, even if it's not a gaming con. I know I'm going to be meeting up with friends. They might also play games, and they might say, hey, why don't we play a tabletop RPG? A lot of times that can be a big ask, but the nice thing with a lot of these indie games, and Mothership being a case in point, is that I can say, okay, I can bring my Mothership book, and I can bring one of these guys, and I'm set. I can run a game. Or they have other like module books like Hard Light Station. And the cool thing too is, since these are all independent creations, with even different publishers, like, they are all different. They all kind of have to adhere to the same, well, they don't have to adhere to the same thing, but they usually all adhere to the same thing, which is the sci-fi horror trope, because that's what the game does well. And that's how you get like these incredible pieces of art and things like that that are in these books. Like the art direction for this game is fantastic. And it's something that I very much enjoy that it's present. And that you might even find some stuff that's like smaller, like this Terra Nova book, which is more akin to exploration, but comes with all the little stuff you need, and not a huge buy-in for this one either. Again, I think most of these are around $15, maybe a little bit higher sometimes too. But there are lots of games that exist within the Mothership space that aren't sci-fi horror games. For example, as we can see on the screen here, you've got like That's Not Lemonade, which I don't know what this is about. What is this? Oh, wait, this is a board game. Bad example. But, let's see, where's one? Picket Line Tango uses a Mothership system, but it's not the same type of game as the rest of the stuff that you usually find within Mothership. And then if you go to stores and things like that, you can usually find other stuff. Abilities considered unnatural, also not sci-fi horror. So it's, I don't know what Hot Stuff on Shore Leave is, but I'm guessing it's also not sci-fi horror. But it's something that I really... You did it? Nice. You did it. It's also something I really appreciate about this system, is the fact that you can find all sorts of different stuff. And the other cool thing about Mothership is that they recently had a Kickstarter that went up, or got fully backed, and you can actually find the information here. Which they sell, this is coming out a little bit later, but they have these deluxe box sets, which is actually really nice. Yeah, so they have this $100 and $200 box, but it comes with a scenario, it comes with a new GM's guidebook, as well as a second edition of the Mothership RPG. This is definitely something I've had my eye on, but we're so smart. Look at us go, yeah. Let's see, there should be one that's a little bit cheaper. Ah, here it is. So, this is something that's nice, which actually I was considering getting this at some point. Comes with the scenario, comes with the GM's guide, comes with the rulebook itself, which has been revised. A nice little map with some figures and little space maps so you can do your battle, as well as a GM screen. All for $60. Here's one thing about this that actually made me think that this might be cool and something I want. And that is this right here. Over here in the corner. The box. Reason being, I have a bookshelf with all of my RPG stuff on it. I can't keep the tiny, tiny little books on my bookshelf and know what they are, because they're just going to get, like, this is how it looks in my shelf. Like, there's no marking whatsoever, unless I know that, oh, those are my Mothership books. You know, it might be a little bit difficult to find. Also, it risks damaging them, so having a nice little case for them would be nice. Just something that has the name on it. So, but I do recommend checking this out. Again, if you don't want to go full bore for the $60 box that comes with all the stuff from the Kickstarter, you can just buy this little guy here for $15 and you're set. But yeah. Oh, and we can look at we're going to look at other indie stuff as well. Just because it's something that I'm personally interested in, and also something I've taken interest to lately as far as with my own searching and creations. And as always, if y'all have any questions, just feel free to ask. I'm happy to provide any information I can or look anything up if I don't know. There's a dog barking. Oh, another interesting point too. So one thing people might recognize if they watch Critical Role and things like that is a little while ago they did a, I think it was because of Kickstarter funding, they had a stretch goal where Ashley Johnson would run a game. And Ashley Johnson ran a game that is based loosely around Alien and Planet of the Apes and things like, and Life and things like that. That system that they used was a modified system of Mothership. So they liked it. Be more reason to check it out. But yeah, let's go ahead and one cool thing too, I believe Drive-Thru might have a source for Mothership games as well. Let's see. I always go back to Drive-Thru on these streams. But that's because I love it. It's always very nice to be able to search for everything. Yeah. So you got an entire page here for Mothership, along with all of the stuff that they release for it, because it's also from small publishers and things like that, and as well as people that don't put stuff into print. I think Tuesday Night does make it a little bit easier to be able to put stuff into print if they're doing that sort of project with you, especially because they're, you know, like the original book is black and white and paperback and small, and the page quality isn't like, you know, it's not terrible, but it's not like a $60 book that you would get. But it is well worth the money. And like I said, with the PDF copy, you get the benefit of being able to pay what you want for it. Like, you could get this for free if you wanted to, which I guess I can put in the comments of the video if people want to. But yeah, it's very much recommend checking it out. It's fairly easy to get, or fairly easy to understand, fairly easy to run. Something I would recommend for anybody who is getting started with GMing. This is a great game to start with. Very low entry point, has lots and lots and lots of things that you can pick up to run a scenario. It doesn't immediately, like I said, the starter scenario is something that is coming later, along with the whole deluxe box deal. But as of right now, it's not something that's immediately available. However, there's a lot of self-contained scenarios and things like that that you can run that it's not really a problem. Okay, so let's go on into what I was mentioning before about looking at tabletop RPG resources as far as indie games go. So if you are ever looking for indie games or looking to put some out yourself, there's a resource called Itch. Now, Itch is really nice because it allows indie developers and things like that to do small independent publishing of their games. The only downside of Itch is it is very, very hard to search. So oftentimes you're better off just like going to Google and typing in what you want. Like, let's see, Honey Heist itch.io. Mothership looks really interesting. I'm glad you think so. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So it's kind of hard to look for stuff on Itch, but I would recommend, again, just using Google. I do know that there are a lot of resources out there that specialize in looking at indie RPGs. Like that is what they do as far as podcasts and videos and things like that. So there's lots and lots of opportunity for that sort of thing. The Wizards of Waverly Place. What is that? Is that something I should look up? Let's see. That's a show. Hello, Azure. Also, hello, Lewis. Or Louis. Lewis. Oh, but yes, as I was saying, with one of the nice things too about itch is this ability to do things like this, where you have this creator in particular is quite popular. It's an old Disney Channel show. I didn't watch any Disney Channel shows, so I'm sorry that I didn't immediately recognize that. Hello. Super tired, but won't be very talkative. That's okay. Okay. Yeah, that's okay, Azure. That's all right. So, yeah. As I was saying, with Honey Heist, this is a good game, for example, of one that was picked up in popularity because of other resources. So Honey Heist is a game where you play as bears. And there are two stats, criminal and bear. And depending on what you do, pips move closer to one or the other. Game is super easy to take in, super easy to play. Something that I would say is well worth checking out. And it's something that was originally came out on itch. I do know that they have Name Your Price for this as well. So it's really nice. But Grant Howitt is a pretty famous creator and got his start on here. And it's opened the door for a lot of other people who are looking to explore independent creation for their like indie products and things like that. So, but yeah, this is nice because you can go through, you can search different types of systems, whether it be OSR, fantasy. I don't know how well this thing works because every time I've tried to search for games on here, it hasn't worked, and I've ended up just turning to Google. Are you just going to post Disney Channel shows? I mean, that's fine. Go ahead, do you. Oh. All right. So, yeah, but if y'all have any questions or anything like that, feel free. I mean, we could look at stuff that Grant Howitt has done. Looks like he's got some new games out, too. And this is one of the nice things, too, about, like, a lot of these little creators is they come out with all these games that don't really need to be all that deep. And so that's how you get, like, these little zine RPGs, which is these 1 or 2 page things, which grew more in popularity, I think, over the course of the pandemic. Because people liked the ability to find these little, like, I want to play a one-shot of something, and, you know, I want it to be a fun theme or whatever theme, and you can just go and find these small creators who have made, like, let's see. Let's do Crash Pandas, which is actually one I played pretty recently. Which it looks like they played on Critical Role as well. So they also played Honey Heist on Critical Role as well. Then you have stuff like Crash Pandas, which is literally a game where you play as street racing raccoons. And, like, again, easy to pick up, fun, something. So I would say if you are ever, you know, looking to branch out in tabletop games, and if you are ever looking for stuff to do that might be outside of the norm, let's say you've been running, and I don't know how people do this, but you've been running a 2-year-long D&D game, and you're like, hey, why don't we play something different tonight? Highly recommend checking out some indie, especially like these 1-page and 2-page zine games and things like that. They've done Honey Heist and Crash Pandas at least twice. That's awesome. I mean, it's one of the things that I wish that they would do more of. And I mean, they have started more recently, but with a platform like Critical Role, because it is so big and so many people see it, like, it would be cool. And I mean, they have been doing this a little bit where they've given back to the community and showed off independent games and things like that. Other games, things that are other than D&D, which, again, rising tides raises all ships. So if we can use that and kind of build off of that, and even if they just mention stuff, it's going to get it out in front of more people. Don't know how people do this. For me, honestly, it's, I will say that everybody is allowed to play games and enjoy games in whatever way that they like. Everybody is allowed to sit down and, if you want to play a game that lasts 4 years and runs every week, absolutely you can do that. You can tell your story through that entire time. And I would suggest after you're finished with all of it, put it together in some notes. Write a story about it if you want. I mean, if that's something that appeals to you, but I think that sort of gameplay really is akin to making these memories and telling the story that's all existent within one thing. And that would be the draw for me, is being like, oh, well, I could write all this down and put it into a big thing and we could look over it. Personally, I'm not a fan of games that last a very long time. I like stuff that has a designated start and end point. So whenever I write things or whenever I make things, that's always in the workings of it. There's always going to be an end point in anything that I make, because I want us to be able to tell our stories, have fun, but I want to be able to jump to something different afterwards. I want to make lots and lots of cool memories and explore lots of things, which again is different from which is not the same as everybody else. Especially in modern day, D&D is the top game. And then you have people like me, which I don't really run D&D at all. I do for friends, but outside of that, I really don't run D&D at all. And it is definitely there's definitely less people that are like that, which isn't a bad thing, because the rise in popularity of tabletop RPGs is more of a recent thing anyway. It's kind of been popular for a while, or not as popular for a while, and then it just jumped up in the more recent years. My 2-year game was a mess. Don't recommend. I've come to find out that I like sandbox with an endpoint. That endpoint comes naturally. Yeah, absolutely. Having that endpoint in there, playing however many sessions it takes to get there in a timely manner, because especially when you have a lot of people who work and things like that, it can be very, very difficult for them to get a lot of time off and be able to dedicate that time. So saying, I expect this to last 6 to 8 sessions, we're going to meet every week or every other week, which means that you're going to be dedicating to 6 or 12 weeks. It's a lot easier of an ask than telling somebody that you're just going to have to do this for the rest of your life, or until it ends. Which some people have that time, and that's fine. But there's a lot of people that don't, which is okay too. The thing that I love about role-playing games is they are created with everybody in mind. So if you want to play that game that lasts 3 years, play that game that lasts 3 years. If you want to play that game that lasts a session, play that game that lasts a session and have fun and make your memories. That to me is one of the most important things about it. And have fun. That's a lot of people stress out over stuff in games. Just have fun. And this is something too, especially with indie games, is I would recommend if you are running games for people and you have a set story and a set idea that you want to do, awesome. Sit down, put that together, bring that to your players. But I would also challenge people to sit down with your friends, and if they all want to play a role-playing game, say, what do you want to do? What kind of role-playing game do you want to play? I used to stress so much about playing. I mean, it is stressful. I'm not going to lie to you. Planning games can be stressful. There's lots and lots of tools out there to make it easier for you to plan your games and run your games. And there's a lot of tools that can be accessible to you to actually go forward and do that, which I could do an episode really on all of them. But I mean, it's one of those things that you're always going to have that stress if that's the kind of person that you are. I know it's the kind of person that I am. I always stress about planning because I want to make things good. But, and because improv, I do a lot of improv with my games, but I can't do entirely improv. I have to have bullet points of information that I cover, so I do have to do some prep. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay if it's stressful. It's okay if it's not. One thing I will say is I don't think anybody should be scared to run a game. If you want to do it, if you've ever thought to yourself, this is something I would really like to do, then just do it. There's lots and lots of things out there that you can find. You're bound to find something that fits what you want or what you like. I mean, the other day we found a Powered by the Apocalypse game. Found this. You don't know my life. It's okay. It's okay to be scared. It's scary. It is scary to get out there and put yourself out there and to tell a story and want everybody to have fun. It's okay. It is scary. It's the fact that it's scary means that it matters. And that's okay. That part. But as I was saying, with you being able to find anything, like, this is a game that's based around Over the Garden Wall, which we found the other day. And it uses Powered by the Apocalypse system, which we can talk about, which is a pretty easy entry point system, but it's... Wow, this is an edge page too. Perfect. So this is just a little indie RPG about being kids that are lost in an endless wood on Halloween night and going around and trying to find your way out. Why, I'll continue with drawing stuff and reading books. Hey, if you want to try it, be happy to be in a game with you. Nobody's going to laugh at you or make fun of you. Because ultimately the people who play in the game just are there to have fun and to enjoy themselves. Yeah, I do too. I think you would be fantastic at it, Ari. I think you underestimate your ability to run a game. That's okay. It's okay to be... It is okay to be scared. Never lie, never. Swear on the Midnight Pete's. And the Doodle Feets. But what I was going to say is a good resource too, especially if you're just getting into games and things like that, is playing games that do use universal systems, just because it makes it easier for you to jump into other things. So like what I was talking about, Babes in the Woods. Babes in the Woods uses the Powered by the Apocalypse system, which started with this guy, which is Apocalypse World. And Apocalypse World is a game about the world is ended, and you and your players make the world together. And you define everything that there is to define about it. One of the cool things about it is, like, you can just go to the website here and find all the PBTA games on Twitch or on itch. And you can sort them by popularity or whatever you want. And if you know the basic rule system, which is what PBTA is based around, you can jump into any of these and consume it pretty easily. Every time I think about running another game, what? Just try it. I would challenge you and anybody. Actually, this would be cool if I could actually get people to join in on this, which is a monthly game challenge where you have to get an indie game and run it and then just leave your thoughts on it. Kind of like a book club, but for running games. And maybe give a few options so that people, because not everybody's going to like the same thing. But give a couple options. Say like, hey, here's our role-playing book club for this month. What other games we got? I know that they got stuff on a nice resource for drive-through, Kickstarter, RPG Geek. This is actually one of the things that I really, really like about PBTA, which is because they use these universal rule systems and because the creators make them more open source. Terrible book clubs. It's okay. It's something I think I might do later, but it is an idea. A terrible book club. Listen, it's just a challenge of there'll be a small game. I actually probably more so like maybe less so like a book club and more so like find a game that looks cool to you and run a session of it or something like that. And bonus points if it's an indie game. Or if people like prompts, I can make prompts too of like, here's some games that I would recommend that you check out for this month. Maybe like 3 of them. But this is something I really like about PBTA is the fact that there are so many games that span so many different. And Thirsty Sword Lesbians is one of them. So is Cult, so is Roots, so is City of Mist. A lot of games that people have heard about and thought, wow, like that looks really cool. It uses this system. What else we got here? There's some games on Kickstarter that are all PBTA. There are, let's see, 26 pages of 10. So yeah, a fair amount. This is just this recorded here. It's definitely a system that there's new stuff that comes out all the time. And I would venture to say that you can find almost anything within this. Any sort of setting within this. As long as it follows the same basic setup that they use for PBTA. To be honest, were you asking, to be honest, I really want to run my own game and I may approach for some help? It's absolutely, sure. Whatever you want to do. I will always tell people to look at stuff other than D&D. D&D is not easy to run. There's lots and lots of, like, the reason why D&D Beyond exists is because of the difficulty of that game. It makes it so much easier to make a character. I wouldn't know how to make a character if it wasn't for that app. So it's not an easy game. There's lots and lots of information about it. And granted, people love it, and that's cool that people love it. But there's lots of other options available to you, especially in the indie sphere of things that you can find. And there's lots of publications too. I mean, one of the things I saw this year, and they do this, I think, every year, is, so for those of you that don't know, there's something called Free RPG Day. It is exactly like Free Comic Book Day, except with role-playing games. So your game stores may or may not participate in this. It happens every year in June, and there will be games set out for you to come and check out. And it's usually from big publishers and things like that. Like, here's a list of the publishers that are there. But they also do have some more indie products, too. They have a little indie zine that they put out that has a bunch of indie games in it as well. D&D's mask scares you. I would love to run Cyberpunk or Shadowrun, but like, oof, the difficulty I've seen and heard with those. So Shadowrun is definitely more difficult than Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is... there's a lot to it, but it's not too... Actually, let me... hang on a second. Let me grab something for you so you can see. Okay, I'm back. So if you're looking at running Cyberpunk, you can actually pick up this box. Sorry, the ring light's kind of setting it off. They have a kickstart, they have a jumpstart kit. It comes with, and there's some other stuff in here too, so I'll get that out of the way. It comes with your rulebook, which this has a lot of the information that you would need. And there is a fair amount to this game. Like, let me see if I can find you an example of character sheet. Where can you find this? These, I would bet, would be at pretty much any game store. Or you can find them online through Altar Soaring. So, that's a reference sheet. Let's go with the Fixer. So, if you play this game, you get your character sheet. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but there is a chart. So Cyberpunk is a little bit heavier on the math too. I would say, let's see, what are you saying here? Is this based off of Cyberpunk Red's rule set, or is the newer one? So Red is the newest one. So this is Cyberpunk Red. Yeah, Jumpstart box is red. You are right. Heard the old stuff was a lot more problematic. Yeah, it kind of has the same issue that a lot of games from the 90s do, where it was written by people that weren't as conscious of those things. So, yes, the newer stuff is a lot better for it. But Cyberpunk was cool. It was fairly easy. I played it on an actual play. It was the first time I ever played it. Fairly easy to learn. But there are, as I've said, there are other Cyberpunk games out there. Let's see. And you can just look on Google with stuff. Yeah, there's Altered Carbon too. I've heard good things about Carbon 21A5. I think that there's a PBTA game that's Cyberpunk as well. There's also more apocalyptic Cyberpunk games, like Morkborg just came out with a game called Cyborg, which Morkborg, the whole thing about it is it's very gritty. So if that's more of what you're looking for, they do have that as well. I guess I might definitely look at Cyberpunk first then. Yeah, I mean, Cyberpunk's a fun time. It's fairly easy to learn. It is pretty chart heavy though, so I will warn you with that. Love the Cyberpunk theme artwork, so dark and pretty. It is very, very pretty. But as I was saying, I'm sure that there's some out here too. Yeah, looks like this one's another Cyberpunk game that uses the PBTA engine. So that's easy, more than likely easier to learn. Because the nice thing about Powered by the Apocalypse games is they are designed to be more narrative heavy than rules heavy. So that's a nice nice feature. So this game looks like is pretty good, at least by the reviews. So I would recommend checking that out too. The Sprawl. I do love the art direction too for a lot of Cyberpunk stuff. My main thing is that there's another Cyberpunk game. My main thing is with it that I like more of the bleak settings, so I don't go for as many of the high fantasy-ish tropes. Factazer started as a Shadowrun Street Samurai character. Nice! So Shadowrun I used to play. I played back in 5th edition of it, before the newest one. It was a fun time. It's definitely not the easiest game in the world, and it is very different because it's a mix of fantasy into cyberpunk. I think that the video games do a very good job of introing people to the universe. And there are definitely cyberpunk games, Shadowrun actual plays out there that people can watch to get more of a feel for the game. But it is not easy. It is very much a game that, if that's what you're running, that's probably what you run. But again, should not scare you. If it's something you want to get involved in, absolutely do it. And the nice thing too about Powered by the Apocalypse games is you, like I've said before, if you know the rules, then you can pretty much do whatever you want in it. And it has lots of queer influence too, which is important. I was actually thinking of streaming Shadowrun stream at some point. I have them. They're good. They're fun. They're a good time. They can be a bit slow, like any turn-based role-playing game like that, but they're fun. They get a cool story to them, which is important. Jeez. 346 pages. That's surprising to me because another thing about Powered by the Apocalypse is they're usually not that deep. A lot of their games are pretty short because the whole purpose, because so much of the game is you creating the world that you're playing in, they more give you high overview ideas of the world that you're in and then allow you to just go and have fun with it. There are some that don't do, that expand more, but it's definitely not required. Trying to think if there's any other cyberpunk games that I can recommend to you. I guess it really depends on what you want, because the cool thing about cyberpunk is it has all of the tropes present in it, like cybernetic limbs, they have net runners and all this other stuff, which I would advise if you're running cyberpunk for the first time, net runners are going to seem cool, but I would advise steering clear of them on your first run because they use a completely different system than everybody else. And if you're running a net running session, it's completely different than what the other players can do because they can't help. Because the net runner is in the computer system doing all this different stuff, which is cool for them. But for everybody else that's in the game, it's a little bit harder, a little bit more of a hard sell. Because while the netrunner's doing their thing, they can't help. And they can't be part of those scenes. You heard about that? Yeah. A lot of people, what they do for Cyberpunk is they'll just hire a netrunner. They'll just say, okay, netrunner's not a class that we're going to be playing as. We're going to hire one, so they'll go off. They'll still be part of your group that can go off and do things. But they won't be a playable character because they won't be able to do as much during the fighting, and you won't be able to do anything while they're doing their thing. The cool thing too with Cyberpunk Red is they have a pretty active studio, which is actually the same people that make the Witcher games, which is our Talsorian Games. These guys, their two big games are Cyberpunk and Witcher. So, and they've been doing sales recently, I think, with Edge Runners releasing. I could see they include how to include that, a player that wants to play but maybe not the actual time to play around with a full group or something. Yeah, you can do it that way too. It does offer you that open avenue. Again, they can just be an NPC if you want them to be, or if you even need them. You may not need them. I think I personally, if I was going to run it, I would just have them hire one. Was this Taverns and Inns DLC? Welcome to the end of September. As promised, a brand new DLC for Witcher, the tabletop RPG, just said. Share. Surreal's Handbook of Taverns and Inns. This is the other cool thing that I like about our Talsorian, is that they expand so much with their games, because both Cyberpunk and Witcher have received the same treatment, which is really nice. They're about to get my money. Hey, they're a cool company. Main guy, like, cool company, very inclusive company. Yeah, I highly recommend checking them out. Yeah, it looks like it came out in 2019. Yeah, that sounds right. Because I think I played it in 2020. Yes, I did play it in 2020. Played it in October of 2020. They're gonna get my money. Yeah. I mean, this is one of those things that I like a lot of games. I like having the ability to play a lot of games, so I tend to buy all over the place. There are definitely games that I will buy everything for, like Vampire the Masquerade and Delta Green I own everything for. Never Going Home I almost own everything for. So there's always games out there that will get my money. If World of Darkness releases something, the new World of Darkness releases something, I'm probably going to buy it. Because I own Hunter, I own all of Vampire. Once they put out Werewolf, I'm going to own all of that. So it's okay. I'll be there one day. Yeah, I mean, go for it. Need more shelf space. Yeah, it's a problem you run into. I've sold a fair number of my books, and I still barely have shelf space. So, and this is with, I would recommend if you're going to become a huge nerd about things, looking at these things. A little bit of gamer advice here. Calyx shelves. These things work great for books and for board games, and they're usually not very expensive. But I have one of these 4x4s, and the entire thing is filled with books. A Werewolf of Content looks like it will be so cool. I kind of would love to be a player in something like that. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, as soon as it hits, as soon as I get it, I'm going to be running something for it. I'm trying to get them to give me stuff early if they want to do that, which would be cool. If you want to do that, I'll definitely review and be happy to give my support to World of Darkness and Hunter and Werewolf the Apocalypse. Oh, shells, and that makes sense. No, Calyx, but yeah, you know, it's IKEA furniture, so don't expect a thing that's gonna last forever, but it works really well and it's not very expensive. So that's pretty much the requirements for me. Eventually, when I get a more permanent residence, I'll make myself a cool bookshelf, and because I want to build a whole library setup for all of our books. And I would like to have a section for my role-playing games. Wants to be down as a player. Cool with that. Yeah, absolutely. Once it... We just gotta wait for it to come out. But yeah, absolutely. Let's see. If y'all have any questions about any other games that you were looking around for, or interested in a theme of, I could probably find them. Do you feel I love a good library? Yep, me too. If I can make a big library like you see in the Disney movies and stuff like that, I absolutely would. I would also love a designated reading space. That'd be really nice. Like a white noise machine and a comfy chair. Just sit there and read. Because right now I do most of my reading while I'm laying in bed, which the problem is that I often fall asleep. So. Back to lurking for you. Thanks for the help. I gotta get back to my game list building for Saturday. Sounds good. Hopefully that all goes well, and I will be there Saturday to support. I wonder what other Halloween-themed tabletop RPGs there are. I know there's a few. These are horror. I want fun ones. Because we got Babes in the Woods. There's another one that's like this, where you find candy. Can't remember what it's called now. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see much on it. That's okay. So, let's go ahead and... So, for the rest of this week, what I want to accomplish by next week is I would like to... Camouflage. No. I would like to this weekend work on one of my games and try and get some time penciled in for some testing. I think that would be really cool. I'm going to try and get some more information out there for any projects I might be working on. Or tomorrow is going to be our workshop Wednesday. So for that, how that works is we hang out and we take either suggestions from the audience or just things that I feel like working on, and we workshop different tabletop RPG related things. So if you have a scenario you would like help with building, or just something you're looking to work on from the ground up, absolutely bring it. We can talk about it. We can do it. We can look up things for it. It's a good... What I would like to grow it into is a group think tank thing, so people can bring their ideas and things like that and help other people with who are looking for information. So, yeah. All right, y'all. So I have to wrap up early tonight because I need to run an errand. But as I said, I will be back tomorrow. And for tomorrow, we're going to be doing our Workshop Wednesdays, which is just going to be me hanging out, working on stuff. And if you want to come and hang out, ask questions, and work on stuff too, or get my help with things, bring it along. I'll be happy to do it. All right, y'all. So as I said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here because I need to run an errand. But I will see you all tomorrow at 6:15. So you have a great rest of your night. Thanks.